Welcome to Josh and Pat for a special interview with two-time Truck Series champion and a 3.98 high school GPA holder, Ben Rhodes. You have to know, so 3.98 GPA, to me, that's one class that you didn't get an A+ in. What was that class, and did that affect your decision to, miss your graduation ultimately?
No, it did not affect the graduation missing. I was going to miss that regardless. I missed a week of school for racing at some point, and I missed something fairly important for English class. And she was she was notorious for being the most strict teacher that we had. So your absence counted against the grade, and it's just how it's just how it went. So I missed like a good week, but it is what it is. And look, I was going to miss school because of racing. Regardless, I ended up going to Iowa Speedway for my very first Xfinity Series start early, and that just kind of coincided with the graduation. So it's like where's my values? Where's my time better spent? It was better spent at the racetrack, I felt like.
That's fair. That's fair.
So take us through. Obviously, you started in the Xfinity Series. Now you end up in the Craftsman Truck Series. This week, you're heading to Las Vegas, and we got to know, Las Vegas was your first career win. And we imagine as a 20-year-old, victory in Las Vegas looks a lot different than what it could look this weekend. So take us through the reminiscing and what's it like to go back there?
Actually, you're right. Victory lane's gonna look different if we won now. I just turned 27, so I was 20 at the time. It's hard to believe it's been that long. The funny part though is the track has changed a lot since then. You don't even race the track the same. So that victory, that how we achieved that, totally different truck, different strategy, totally different setup. It almost isn't even the same racetrack. It feels like there's some tendencies that correlate with the weather, but that's about it. Now going into Vegas, it's going to be a very high speed race. It's going to be cold. It's here in March. It's going to be a lot of wide open laps before the tires finally fall off. But yeah, victory lane's going to be different because when I was 20 and I won it, my family, all my people were down in the lobby celebrating. They're at the bar. I walked in. I got kicked out immediately. So I celebrated with a grilled cheese, and my room was room service. So
Nice.
things will be different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you mentioned, it's going to be different this time, but you also were quoted saying that, the Truck Series is the hardest it's ever been, talking about the change. What changes are you seeing in the Truck Series, and what makes it the hardest it's ever been?
Um, a few different things. The teams themselves are really the foundation for it. We see a lot of teams that are more advanced and on a greater playing field than they've ever been. You look at the bump stop packages that have been implemented. You look at the new bodies that we have, the wind tunnel time that's been diminished. You look at the engines that we have. Everything that NASCAR has done in recent years with the rules have brought the teams closer together in competition. In some ways, they've made it easier. Really, in almost all the ways, they've made it easier so that new teams that are coming into the sport don't have to invest quite as much money into R&D, right? Like they get into it and the bar is a little bit lower for them to get fast quicker. So that means that just the depth through the field is enormous now. So first place to 20th, a bad day, you're running 20th. It used to not be like that.
Right.
And what's that like? Last year, obviously, you maybe didn't have the start of the year that you wanted, but you go to the end of the year, you kind of get on a roll, you kind of got hot. And what's it like making those changes throughout the year, and even like looking at a race as a whole? How do you go from maybe wanting to gain stage points earlier in the season to maybe costing yourself a chance at the victory?
Yeah, well, that's well put. I don't think that really changes for us a whole lot. Historically, we go for stage points every chance we can get, even at the cost of sacrificing victory sometimes, or the chances for it. Really, I think it goes back to the old adage that two in the hand, or no, one in the hand's worth two in the bush. So having those stage points versus risking it, having nothing at the end of the day, trying to get a win, we got to play it safe and conservative because it's a marathon, not just, a sprint like people think. And unfortunately for us right now with this season, we're in the worst point situation I think I've ever been in. I think we're like 29th in points, which is just an absolute joke. But the first two races have not been kind to us.
No, no. Well, listen, you mentioned we're going back to Las Vegas this week. A lot of good restaurants in Las Vegas. A lot of places to eat. You know, is there a specific spot you hope to hit there? And what does like a pre-race meal usually look like? Because obviously you're sitting in the car for a long time. You don't want something too heavy, but you don't want to be hungry. Like, what's that look like?
I've changed that up recently. About a year or two ago, I've started eating like a lot more protein on race days.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully for me, because that can get expensive quick. Thankfully for me, I've got a company called All Beef, which is owned by Justin Lofton, a truck racer.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's got a ranch out in Texas, and basically everybody's heard of Butcher Box. They've all heard of these national brands. Or Omaha Steaks or whatever. He's doing the same thing out of Texas on his farm.
Yeah.
So basically, he has a bunch of cattle, and they process them right there on the farm. And he ships it to me, and I cook up these massive steaks like Delmonico's and ribeyes, and it's phenomenal.
You a medium rare guy or?
More medium. I'm like right on the medium side. I don't go well done. None of that garbage.
Well, that's good. I mean, if you went well done, we'd have some issues.
We would.
That would be a problem. I don't know if I could defend you at that point. Man. But.
So take us through. We did a little bit of research, and you've been in the Truck Series for a while now. There's a couple of things that we noticed, and with this time of year, calendars turn into March here this week. You used to have a bracket challenge for the NCAA. Are we bringing that back this year? And how do we get involved?
Definitely not. If we had any sort of bracket challenge, that's all from the teams doing. To tell you the truth, guys, I'm really not huge in anything other than racing. So
really,
I really am not. Almost everybody.
No, you're
sorry, guys. That's the joys of doing stuff on cell phones, right? Almost everybody in my team is huge into everything.
Yeah.
But I've watched nothing but racing, basically. So call me lame.
So, like, what racing are you watching? Like you're, it's a Friday night. Are you pulling up like Lucas Oil, like modifieds, or what are we watching?
Everything, really. If it's racing and it's on TV, I mean, I'm clicking over to it. I really don't know of any other stations that are on TV, right? So I've also got Dirt Vision and Flow, so I'm pulling up local races around the country. Right. That's me. That's also my crew chief. He really doesn't subscribe to any other sports. I mean, he's really just Dirt Vision and Flow. That's all he's got. So.
Well, who was your favorite driver growing up? Like, who did you watch as a kid?
Yeah.
So Jeff Gordon was always my guy, and the reason why is because my uncle used to race with him, or I guess more specifically, he used to race with my uncle. My uncle was an engine builder for sprint cars, and Jeff used to like live with him at one point, and that was the team. So my cousin was like best man in his wedding and whatnot. So I heard all these stories about him growing up as a young sprint car driver, and me as a go-kart racer. I thought, wow, that's really cool. I don't know. It was really the only thing that I had to latch onto in NASCAR, so it immediately made me gravitate towards him.
Right. Well, you speaking of the 24, we were looking at everything. You've obviously raced in a Cup Series race before. You beat William Byron in that race. So we have to know, like, do you see that and go, hey, maybe I should try to run the 500 one of these days? Like, just see what happens.
Yeah. So I want to run the 500, but that's definitely not why. That was me filling in for – who did I fill in for? Oh, Justin Haley. I was filling in for Justin Haley at Sonoma, right? And, there was like no expectations where if we did the 500, I'd be going there to win. No matter who you're racing with, I feel like you've got decent odds. So I would love to do that. I think speedway racing is kind of something I've really worked hard on the past few years.
Right.
I think it fits in my wheelhouse. I think if you look at the Truck Series stats, like I don't know what our stats are, but I just know every single year that we somehow find our way up there competing for it, whether we win or not, or we wreck out. So,
so then kind of an inside NASCAR scoop here. You say, you're trying to hone your craft in on the super speedway racing. We look at what Atlanta just put on, and we saw the truck race and the Xfinity race, and it was not the same type of show as Sunday. Do you think that has to do more with the drivers in the field? Maybe it's a shorter race or the package that they bring?
As far as the Cup Series running 3 wide, is that what you guys?
Yeah, it just felt a little bit more racier maybe on Sunday compared to
No, that's a good way to put it. So here's the biggest problem that I have with the scheduling of the Truck Series always running first is that exact reason. We run first, and we're the first ones to put rubber on the track. When we go out on the racetrack, it's a green track. It's dusty. It's dirty. We're all over the place trying not to hit the wall and run into each other. I mean, it's the most treacherous conditions all year. Well, I guess all weekend, I should say, is when we get on the racetrack. So we see the hardest racing surface, and then we've got to go out and put on a show, and then they try to judge us against a car that also doesn't have the side force that we do. So, like, those guys can run side by side because they don't have they're not relying on side force to keep them straight. We're relying on air moving across the side of the body to keep us straight. So it's kind of a combination of factors. Really, really difficult track, no rubber, dusty, and then we need side force. They don't.
Right. And how do you, I guess, like, how does that get fixed moving forward, do you think? Or do you think it's just one of those things where that's the cards you guys are dealt and that's the way it's going to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, those are the cards we're dealt with scheduling, right? Like, they always have us go first on the weekends. Right. And that just plays a bigger factor at some tracks than others. Other places like Vegas this weekend, I don't think it's going to play all that big of a factor. If you look at places like Atlanta or Bristol, where they put the resin down, we're the first ones to run it in. So it's a 1-lane groove when we're racing there. But then when the Cup Series rolls around, it's got a billion laps on it. And now it turns into 2 to 3 lanes, and it's good, even racing, right? So that's kind of another good example of how we always have to run the track in for people.
Right.
And obviously with the Truck Series, you guys switch up the schedule, go to new tracks some years, take some tracks off the schedule. Is there a track that you guys go to or have been in the past that you absolutely hate, you're scared to death to go, or is there a track that you absolutely love?
Oh, man, that's a good one. I would really like to go to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I would love to go back there again. I really, really missed that track. It was probably one of my favorites on the entire schedule. I like to go north of the border. I liked all the fans that never get to see us. I mean, they are so excited. We're the premier race for the weekend, so we get all the publicity and excitement. I would say it's probably our biggest turnout of the year, and it's just a fun track. So I missed that. If I had to get rid of one for that, I'd probably just make it an even swap for COTA, just because COTA's not really made for trucks. I mean, we go through some corners, and we put on our quickest steering box, right, at COTA. So a little bit of movement like this turns the tires really fast. And, I mean, I'm turning the wheel almost as far as it'll go to make it through some of those corners. Like, it's just such a tight racetrack for us.
Do you watch Formula One at all?
I do, yeah.
Who's your guy? Okay. Wait, what team are you?
I don't have a guy. I kind of watch it purely from like a neutral perspective. Push. I don't have a guy.
Well, I became a Red Bull guy. It's easy when I know the driver I'm going to root for is going to win. That feels like I've enjoyed that, and my short fandom has been it's been incredible so far. I don't think I've seen a loss, and so it feels really good. You mentioned leading off the weekend, obviously. One of the things that I always look forward to as a kid was when the Truck Series would lead off the Dover weekend, because that's my home track. Now, obviously, you guys are not running there, and that to me it breaks my heart. Especially this year, I can't make it to the Sunday race. I can't make it to the Saturday race. But you know what I could make it to? I can make it to the Friday race. I'm hoping that I can get you as an advocate maybe to go back to Dover. If you hate Dover, don't tell me that. That's going to be, just keep it to yourself. But can we maybe get like some sort of advocate program going to get you guys back to Dover for the fans?
Yeah, we might have to. Dover's great. It's great, but we might just have to have somebody else lead up that charge, just.
The way you said great didn't seem super sincere, Ben, I have to say.
Yeah. No, I'm real sincere. I love some Dover. It's great. It's great.
Okay. We're gonna leave it. Okay. Whatever. Unbelievable.
Okay. So Ben, we had a proposition. We know that you're from the Louisville area, and you're a big racing guy. and this might not be NASCAR racing, but it has to do with horse racing. Josh, you had a great idea of how we could combine these two.
Right. So here's what I'm thinking, Ben. And we were trying to look at ways like what are things that we could propose to you, new business opportunities. As far as you're from Louisville, we think we found the perfect match. So we would like to see what your interest level is on this. So you take the winner of the Kentucky Derby, okay, and then you take your truck. We bump it down to, we believe our math is correct, that if you put it around 47 horsepower, you'd be running around the same velocity as the winner of the Kentucky Derby. And then we just put you out on their Churchill Downs and we race. We think it would be a hit. What do you think?
I would be, with 47 horsepower, I would be really interested to see how I make it around the corner. I think the horse would have a for sure advantage around the corners, for sure.
But you get to the straightaway, you might have.
At those numbers, I don't know who to bet on. I mean, I would go through the corner like this, and I would have no rear wheel spin, so the horse could possibly win. I don't know.
Right, and we're not asking for a hard commit. We're just asking for a soft commit.
A soft yes.
Yeah. I'm committed. I'll do it. You just got to talk to Churchill Downs. I have a feeling they're not going to like the holiest grounds of horse racing being defiled by a truck.
Well, there's a guy named Bob Baffert that they don't like either. We might be able to get him.
All right. I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay, we'll make that happen. I think that's a lock, Patrick. You're gonna write that down. We'll get that on the books for next year.
Yeah, right. So just to kind of finish up here with the last couple questions, Ben. So off to Vegas this weekend. You said worst position in the points you've ever started.
Yeah.
Take us through, where do you see this? It's hard coming off a championship season, and where do you see you guys go to a true track now? Are you guys excited to kind of get back to the roots?
I am. I'm very excited to be there. I was excited for Daytona and Atlanta too. I thought that we had really good odds for both, and I mean, we had our tire cut down while leading at Daytona. And then we had a really good run going at Atlanta, coming from a bad qualifying position towards the front, and then again we started cutting down tires. So we've got to do some damage control on our side. Literally, when damage happens, how do we keep it from reoccurring? The funny part about Atlanta, though, man, is we were going so fast there, and the wind gusts at some point were like 60 miles per hour.
Right.
So you were getting like 240 mile per hour on the truck, 250, 260 at times on the truck. That's pretty crazy. You saw people's roofs and stuff blowing out, right? So
that's insane.
Yeah. Trucks weren't really doing that before. So anyways, not to avoid the question. Yeah, I'm really excited for Vegas because I need to get some points back, and I see that as the opportunity to do it. What am I anxious about going into Vegas? I'm anxious about getting wrecked again. I'm anxious about not finishing the race. I'm anxious about a bad restart or cutting a tire. If none of that happens, I see ourselves getting a top 5 there. I really do. But like when you're down in a hole right now and you have really bad point situation, you can't afford for another bad race to happen. So my anxiety, my stress is through the roof right now because I'm scared something's going to happen. And the worst would be is if something happened by a mistake by me. That would just be unacceptable, right?
Right. I mean, that makes sense, man. Well, listen, we're really rooting for you. You're our truck guy now, so we're gonna be pulling from you. Hey, do you have any where can I get some sick merch from you? You got a store?
I do. I've got a store, benrhodes.com. Pretty simple name, pretty easy to follow. Just benrhodes.com. We got a shop on there. We've got shirts, hats, different stuff. So check it out.
How does it feel? There's another dude when we Googled, to do prep work. Ben Rhodes, the security guy.
Yeah, Deputy National Security, former Deputy National Security Advisor of the U.S. His search rank is pretty good when you search in the Ben Rhodes. We were almost going to ask you questions. We were like, so he served as the deputy? That's crazy. He did that and truck racing? Turns out two different people. But
you got the rights to the website and the Twitter handle, so that has to feel good.
Right. Well, it turns out he doesn't have merch either. I don't think he's got people that are buying merch. And when people go on Twitter and they want to tag him, I never get something that says "Good job, Deputy National Security Driver." It's always like, "Hey, we hate you," and turns out it's always him. So,
the Like, dude,
He's
I just
got
want
some
a
problems of his own.
championship. What? What are you thinking about me for? Yeah, he's it turns out controversial figure. We won't get into that, but listen,
Yeah,
hey, we
very
really
much
appreciate
so.
you making the time for us, man. Good luck this weekend. We're pulling for you, and hopefully we can get some points back.
Yeah, man, we need them. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on the
Yep.
show.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Ben.
Anyway, see ya.
Thanks, guys.